Richard. Who's that? What's his name? Andrew.
Yes.
When are you going to get all that put into a book form?
Well, many people have asked this question, and you know, unless you've got a name or some kind of credential. I mean, if I was a historian, for example, or if I was an accomplished journalist, which, you know, writes leaders for the Times or something, then it'd be easy. But, you know, my wife, for example, spent a long time working on a book, and it was proofread by professional writers. It was evolved over a period of nearly a decade. It's extremely highly polished, and she's, you know, the only people she sold it to people she knows, really. It's on the internet. She's got a website which advertises it, which she keeps linking and linking and linking to, and it sells 0 copies. So why should I put myself through all that hell to sell nothing? And then I feel miserable because I think nobody loves me. Whereas if I do a poem and people say this kind of thing, thank you, Dennis, then I feel good.
But you can still write good poetry and when people don't love you.
Yeah, yeah.
Or people can hate you and you can write lousy poetry. Anyway.
Hey, a bit cryptic.
Yeah, well, sorry, you broke up there in the middle of that, Dennis. I was umming to be polite. I didn't actually hear what you said.
Yeah.
Yes, Michelle.
Can you see my heart sign, Andrew?
Yeah.
There you are. Look, we love you.
Oh,
what's that? Can't see it.
The heart
Debbie?
Sign. It's you can click on more, and then you get some icons across the top if you want to react.
More.
What have you got there? Python?
Where do we get more from?
Along the bottom, you know where the mute button is. Mute.
Yeah, down the bottom.
Yeah.
Share, participants, and more. If you press on more, then you get those reactions across the top. And there we go.
You can go like that.
Oh, look. Oh, look, I did that.
See?
I hear you, Richard.
I'm sorry, I was on mute.
Mute.
Right, I had a mute point, Andrew. So we have a chat contribution from Michelle saying maybe we could do a collection of this group and then we have a wide group of friends and sell more books. Maybe. Something to think about. Anyway, the second person in my chat room today, and the first time on the Highgate Society Poetry Group Zoom facility. Right, hello, Debbie. Could you give us 2 poems?
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've got to.
Not getting away with it that easy.
Right, could everybody else mute, please?
Yes.
So I didn't write to the brief of going back to school, but I did. They are topical. Yeah, sort of. Anyway, so my writing, I can't tell if it's gone downhill or uphill during the pandemic, but anyway, this one is called Emergency Service. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre happened here in bed last March, or was it my period last month when I bled and bled? I don't know. I couldn't look. I was too busy watching the shadows dancing on the wall, forgetting to cook. The mattress got soaked. I was soggy for weeks in a bed bath of my own menses, in permanent COVID quarantine, sick to my spleen with depression, in bed. There was an intrusion of armed riot police from Belarus last night into my flat, beating metal shields with batons, searchlights attached to AK-47s, accusing me of harbouring a Kalashnikov and the means to make a petrol bomb named after some bloke called Molotov, from a milk bottle and some diesel. Muzzle toff, I said, you've got me. Then they broke all my limbs and left me for dead, swigging my vintage whiskey as they left and emptying the fridge, carousing and scoffing with their greasy fingers as I lay breathing my final breaths, trying to reach my mobile to call an ambulance, but they intercepted the call and in fake royal accents pretended one was coming. So when they had departed as they came, in a mob-handed, heavy-legged, flat-stomping footed, laughing in derision, I lay shattered and pulverised with no meds for 4 months, until the gas boiler safety checkers broke my door down that was locked again, accused me of refusing to let them in. Salve-moi, salvate, they found me, and a real ambulance came. They put me on the COVID ward in Homerton Hospital to motivate me to breathe, because there was no treatment left for NHS patients that day, and empty coffins stacked up waiting in the hallway. The surgeon on the ward was a misogynist, had me on the do not resuscitate list, and wept when I recovered. Only the cleaner spared a smile, a moment of pity, a prayer, and that's what did it. I decided to care, to get better, to go home to my invaded flat, to sweep up the broken glass, to clean the muddy footprints off the carpet, to sit and eat a microwave meal, to ditch the suicide letter and start to heal, to leave my past and hopefully to never reconnect, and be my best for you and the world. A poet.
Mm.
Very good, Les.
Thank you. This is my second one. You'll be glad to hear it's much shorter. This is called DIY NHS in ADC19, COVID-19. Lucy Araniello castrated herself in the public loo and stood on her head on stage in a lacy bodice so she didn't bleed out and end up dead. Private abortionists will be back, hello again, and soothsayers and feel-good unction sellers and preachers of rude health for 50 quid, and the place flooded with hypnotists, therapists and life coaches, anarchists and flag burners when they privatised the NHS. Just a facade left for the penniless, empty shelves in pharmacies and hospitals, a sticking plaster and TCP, one unsterilised scalpel, a needle and 6 sutures, and no anaesthetic between here and Luton. It's the gravy train of defunded pain and sepsis infection. Grit your teeth and hold my hand. Let's all jump on. All aboard. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you for rhyming Molotov and Muzzletov.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very good.
And Kalashnikov.
And Kalashnikov,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Right,
That's
and I
me.
think he's sitting in his kitchen today rather than the sofa that he sat on over the last couple of months. Mr. Dennis Herbstein. Can
Oh,
we have
right,
tips from
okay.
you, Dennis?
Well, I've got a long one and I've got 2 short ones. So I'll read the short ones first in the hope that you'll call me later to do the other one. Mine is about the 20th century in Highgate. And it's about, well, it's called The Blame Game Shame. Black, Asian, minority, ethnic. BAME. Horrible name. Add the L, makes blame. Pre-existing condition for spread of virus shame. Not asthma, nor cancer, heart disease, or a foot's gone lame, but skin hue, bad school, poverty, houseful, pay cruel, inequality. Rishi Sunak, Piti Patel, you're all to blame. and the fellow begging in the street with no name. Patty. Channel crossers daft in a raft, have they no shame? Just call them brother, sister, not bother whence they came.
Hey.
When I'm Patty,
Yeah.
when I'm doing it, don't.
Okay, let me wash my hands.
Okay. Okay, you finished?
Yeah.
Come on. Okay. This one is called, it's even shorter. It's called The Mayfly, which is, you know, lives a day and a night. I wish to know if I am dying, for they are poems to entrust. If not of gracious quality, yet written down they must. Set the timer to 3 minutes, hours, years. The space will be mine. Who knows what I'll say? Just freeze the clock and pour the wine. Villainous time steals it, hoards it, forward and back to the beginning, from all that has been and will be, thief of thieves, when so many despair of it. Patty.
Oh, sorry.
When so many despair, sorry, my wife is interrupting. Dear, oh, dear Mayfly, you of one day and one night on life's pond, birth, flight, courtship, done, and me ever thirsting for more, taking until all is gone, time. That's it. We've already wasted some time.
You mute yourself and then they won't hear me cooking. Sorry about that.
Yeah, well, it's just terrible, really awful that you should do that to me.
Have
Okay.
you muted yourself?
No, I haven't.
Okay, if we're now ready for Gwyneth, 2 poems. And thank you, Dennis.
Right.
Renee.
Hey, that was me. Can you hear me?
We can.
Yes?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good. I've written a poem about horizons, and I've written one about going back to school. So I'll do the horizons first and the one back to school second. The distant horizons of sea and sky calm my mind, clear my thoughts, to see beyond what I understand. Confined within my urban life, I long for the sea, but have only the sky, guiding my eyes to new horizons. As night and day merge together, whoops, a setting sun silhouettes the city. An evening sky is full of promise, reveals a changing city horizon of angular shapes, domes and spires, as old and new relate to each other. The sky at night is a great unknown. Twinkling stars challenge our minds with unknown worlds and new horizons. A time of promise in a world of problems. Progress threatened by a plague of our making that knows no boundaries, questions our future. Without intent, we have created a crisis. We're running out of time to find solutions. Is it time to share horizons? So that's my one about horizons. The back to school is short and sweet, you were pleased to know. So back to school. Nobody knows will it be order or chaos. As parents care about their children's health in a pandemic out of control. So much is shared in the process of teaching. In old buildings with limited facilities, how do you share space and teaching resources? Relating to each other is the basis of teaching. There's an inevitable risk of spreading infection. Answers we know will be difficult to find in a very uneven playing field where levels of opportunity are unequally divided. Right, I think I lost half of it somewhere, but that's it. Right. Okay.
Very good, Gwyneth. Lovely.
It was really nice to hear it from a teacher's point of view as well, Gwyneth. I know you spent a lot of time kind of leading young people at school, so...
Right.
Oh,
Well, I just don't know how they'll manage, because you
Right.
just inevitably relate to people and talk to them. Yes, however, there we go. Right.
Okay, so we'll pass on to Christopher.
Oh, okay. Oh, do you want me to do my mother's ones?
Entirely up to you, Christopher, what you do.
All right, I'll do my mother's ones then. Okay, so she's got, all right. Okay, this one is called He's Trouble. He's trouble, they said, but I can't keep away. And the more that I've read, the more that becomes true. I'm talking of Hardy, who gets into you. His stories show life in such a clear-sighted way. His poems even more so. What can you say? Just take care it doesn't get into you. It already has. What can you do? Just desist. Don't read him. He's trouble, but still worth it. Yeah. And then she's
Is that
written.
written about you, Christopher?
Sorry, was that about
written
me?
about you?
No,
Yeah.
that was about. It was about Thomas Hardy.
Yeah, Thomas Hardy.
Thomas Hardy, yes. And now, so this is what she's written about back to school, which also mentions that gentleman as well. She must have. Well, it's because she's reading. It's because she's just read or reading one of his books at the moment, which she's finding a bit hard going, actually. Anyway, so this is back to school. If I could go back to school, I would sit and think. I'm not a fool. Why do you labour this well-known stuff? I already know it well enough. The teacher would exclaim in a huff, why come then, if you're so well read? Go to some specialist college instead and learn something new. There's plenty of scope, even for a big head like you. There is hope. Your trouble is you've become averse to imbibing straight learning. You're looking for truth, and that seems rare, or if found, brings despair. Just don't be tardy. Keep away from Hardy, and whatever your mood, keep away from his Jude. Don't go and look. Take my word, it's a terrible book. That's the one. That's the one she's been reading. She's finding it a bit depressing. Bit depressing.
Sounds a little bit obscure
And then-
to me.
What else? She wrote an 8-liner one here, which I'll just read to you. It's called Wishful Thinking. What a waste, what a waste, what a terrible waste to use the precious weapon thought on wishes of a pliable sort. Such wishes should be firm and strong to convey us to horizons new. Oh, horizons. Horizons new. A voyage we should take lifelong. Philosophers have told us what to do. There we are. So those other titles, they were from the writing group where you're supposed to write a story, but she writes a poem. There we are.
Well, thanks a lot to Christopher Mangum for representing his mother, Joyce Mangum. Next,
All right.
I see you've
And if you,
kind of
do
name
you want me to read?
Too.
Do you want me to read my one later?
later, mate, later.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, over to Michelle with a few mumbles. Right, and turn on your mute.
Yes, I turned it on. So I want to ask, I've got a long one, which is about the subject, but I didn't write it for here. Are you okay if I read that one?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, so, and Wendy, you've heard it, so I hope you're okay with that. It's called The Fool's Journey, Part 1 by Michelle Baharia. The smell of freshly cut grass filled the fool's nostrils and reminded her of her mother's mother, and her own birth. For it was her mother who always mentioned the smell of the season's first cut grass, as it was that emotive a smell that brought back her grandmother's face, the mother of her mother, whose funeral's perfume was that of cut grass. It was now the smell she would have to remember her mother by, as a behavioural trait. At this point, her feet curled up and her knees bent, and she fell to the ground. The dampness of the grass could be felt through the cloth on her trousers and on the palms of her hands, and she knelt on the grass before she rolled over onto her back and looked up to the sky. She watched the clouds roll by, telling herself stories as she watched the shapes shift and transform before her. It had been a long time since Mother Earth had held her. As the clouds rolled by, her mind differed to the time she was berated. She had suffered some confusion. Would you stand a child in the corner? The fool that she is had had difficulty understanding what was expected of her. In her naivety, she had asked for help. Well, that's what you're supposed to do, right? But this teacher, like so many teachers, misunderstood. The fool, who was not badly behaved, oh no, she was confused. She didn't understand. Not understanding what she was supposed to do made her feel like an idiot, stupid. The fool was tearing out her hair, bombarded by information which did not make sense. It was her who did not understand. Her question was met with a head-on, more confusion as she tried to comprehend and got nowhere. She was a child misunderstood. During her childhood, she'd filled carrier bag after carrier bag until she was an adult and a teenager and an auntie and a senior citizen. She had so many carrier bags, and her belongings really loaded down her stick. This is the child shamed when asking for help, whose traumatic baggage can never be unpacked. Is standing a child in the corner a good punishment? No. Our fool is no ordinary fool. She's the age she is, and it's after school. Way after school. 3 decades have passed, but still she remembers. She was the thick kid, the stupid kid, the special needs kid, in prison with her enemy's kid. For the Italian gang who threw stones at her. At home time, they were also in the dunce class. In those days, there was no hate crime for racist kids who had racist parents. Our fool killed Jesus. according to the Catholic and the Christian offsprings. When did it become fashionable to stand a child in the corner? The fool understood the object of this game was to shame and humiliate her into compliance. It was the same as mental health medication. It was apparently the Victorians who were famous for this punitive discipline to control children, used in both the USA and England. It also became known as the dunce's corner, and for many a disabled child, they would be sat at a designated dunce's table, and even be forced to wear the dunce's cap. You see, our fool is a disabled adult who was a disabled child. Dunces, a fact file about John Dunce Scots and the origins of Dunce, born around 1266 in Dunce. He was a Franciscan priest, philosopher, and theologian, one of the most highly regarded of the Middle Ages, who wore a pointed cap for learning. Alas, his work went out of fashion during the Renaissance, and he was mocked, and those who supported him, known as the dunce men, became known as dunces. Hence, the pointed cap was then associated with idiocracy and stupidity. The legacy left is the paper-made dunce cap. Used as punishment in schools, it carries the same message: the thick kid, the stupid kid, the kid disabled by learning difference, the adult who's asked for help, who gets met with the cascatory punishment of a Victorian era when a request for help is refused. If misunderstanding and then asking for help is confused by others as disruption, how will the child, our fool, learn? How will the fool not be disturbed by the coercion through shaming, which is being enforced by draconian methods? How and who can the fool, our adult, trust? Any of those who claim to nurture, often hiding behind methods of shaming and blaming, as they somehow didn't hear a cry for help. What would you do if the fool said to you, "I don't understand"? What would you want me to do? Berating her won't save the problem, and in doing so you will make her feel stupid. So put yourself in her shoes and ask yourself, what would I need? You could pull up a chair and sit down beside her and ask, what would help? You could look into her eyes. She's not a dunce, not a cunt, not a stupid, thick git. She's a person, all right. She's a human being, like you, like me. She's different. She learns differently. The child who is an adult needs your love, not your reprisal. Disapproval does not help anyone to learn. Have you ever known a reprisal solve a problem? Instead, it produces fear, anxiety, self-harm, and imposes ideas of being rubbish and not being good enough, amongst other things. It's a recipe for a meltdown of the mental health kind. If you experience the feelings of overwhelming disapproval caused by shame, would it not make you think that others do not approve of you? Wear the fool's shoes just for a moment. Feel as the fool does as she shuts down and becomes withdrawn. She develops over worrisome emotional reactions, followed up by prescriptions of I can't say it, but you know what I mean. Or two, in short term, the fool may react by trying to please an adult, but the fool knows right from wrong. Her communication needs should not be met with harm. The core of any teacher's approach should and could be love, compassion, connection, meaningful structure, maybe that develops personal senses of autonomy and discipline. A life raised with shame can become a life, oh, I've lost my page, of self-consciousness and internalized humiliation. History tells us that standing a child in the corner is a cruel science, and it creates issues for a child later on in life, which outweighs any perceived benefits. The fool is just about to leave the garden where the grass has just been cut and take up the journey as an open road. The fool is at present is naive and young, yet hidden under the skin are the engravings of her emotions, the impressions imprinted and held by her memory. These are the childhood traumas that are not yet worked through, and perhaps never can be aired. Thank you.
Yay!
That's a
Brilliant.
fine poem.
Sorry?
That's a fine poem, a philosophical poem.
Thank you.
Really good. Lots of thought. As a former school teacher, 60 years ago, I certainly didn't behave with that foresight and empathy, although I never ordered 6 of the best.
Because it's something that probably everyone's been through one way or another, isn't it?
Well, yes,
Yes,
but I mean,
you
it's
can
just such
feel-
an understanding of the dunce in the corner. I mean, I'd never happened in my school days, not as a pupil or a teacher. I mean, that's something long past, but I'm sure probably there's still some schools which practice something like it. But that was very thoughtful poem.
Yeah, interesting.
Thank you.
Because I remember following you at Neurodivergent and I thinking, oh God, mine's not as informative as that.
I think that's just how yours are different. Yours are very kind of
Yeah.
like blah, 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 and yeah. And I think I like doing that. I think I like researching things a bit.
Yes,
But
I mean,
wondering
sometimes one, when you do a lot of research, you feel you have to put it in your book or your poem, but the research is there just to lie at the back of your mind and to draw on it and use phrases. You had some very good phrases there. I can't recall them now. But I mean, it's nicely, you used your research very well.
Thank you.
But wondering if you've got another one for us, Michelle, maybe a shorter one?
Well, is it fair for me to do another one, or shall I wait?
Yeah, we all get 2.
All right then. I wrote this one very quickly today. I went to Kew, so this is kind of in progress, and it is called Back to School. I thought about it. Back, a negative perhaps, going backwards, not moving forwards, not back, but return to. After a pause, yes, return to learning. Do you return when you learn? Just like a balloon, you got blown up and then you go pop because you're too full up on knowledge. Laugh out loud, stand up, be proud. Like my visit today, my visit was to Kew, but I did not have to queue, as in a queue, Q-U-E. But was I going back to Kew or returning to Kew? And as always, Ian Jury pops up with back to bed. We're going back to bed. And it's school, back to school. Or some Tory minister who went back to basics. So much so he had an affair with Mrs. Curry. We eat eggs in a hurry. She made us aware there was a food scare and slept with Major, like so many do. Fall at the feet of a PM. Does school teach you to bag a Tory? Note, Eton has 8 in a classroom. Back to crowded classrooms. Or return to learning until you get back to bed. That's that one. It's in progress.
Well, we hope to hear more of those. That's not finished, is it?
No, it's in progress.
Yeah, okay.
No, I just wrote it very quickly because I wanted to write on the actual theme.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And you wrote it in Q, K-E-W?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I got lucky enough to be invited there today. It's so beautiful.
Is it? No, yeah.
Sorry?
It's just, it's quite expensive to go to, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I got offered a free ticket.
Oh, right, okay.
It's always worth going if you can get. It's just so. It just kind of does that, doesn't it?
The only time I went to Kew, I can bring you something about back to school. I was teaching I just arrived from South Africa, and I took a group of 8 and 9 and 10-year-olds where I was teaching in North London to Kew with some other ladies who were the teachers there. I just was a learner. And it was a disastrous day because the one vomited in the glass house, one of the boys. Another one fell into the pond. And I didn't see much at Kew. So
no.
I think after 60 years, no, more than that, I should go back and have another look. And perhaps write a poem about it.
You should.
As I'm told, Kew is really nice. Anyway, my turn. Right, I started with a little history from Andrew. This one's more of a personal history called Following School. It's about careers, right, or it's about careers I had. And it's inspired really by a kind of art instruction from Yoko Ono, and it's all about climbing ladders. But incidentally, I did go back to one of my colleges and kind of give a careers talk as a poet, and this is one I used about what my college called a portfolio career. Right, anyway, an inquiry into careers found not chosen, designed by accident. Steadfast, committed, paid and promoted, I climbed an internal ladder. Higher and higher, closer to the heat, further from my sun. Jacob I called in Cheddar, Jacob again in Matlock, stranded on a wrong. Lost and bewildered, unclear somehow why and wherefore. An operator straight, vertical, upright, unsafe, unhealthy. Not me, not mine, the dream, it faded, blocked by boredom. Another heaven lay someplace else beside a pen. A mark on paper defined a student bent by academia, silent works, quiet, stealthy, unreal movements, reaching finally earth, ground in dust, the reality of dirt. Her hemline of her skirt, another ladder. I loved, I lost, I came second to another lover taken. Stepping down, moving along, intent on singing new songs. A volunteer, picture, postcards, words upon fabric, images develop with chemical involvement in a red-lit, darkened room. 3 flights to another heaven, banished by politics. Accounts, spreadsheets, access, Excel, keyboards, key times, key moments. Another door, it opens. A dice within a shaker, finally dealing out sixes. And I climbed back upon a ladder, heading remorseful to my son. I thank you.
Woo! Yay!
And
Have you
thank
got
Mrs.
a
Overton.
son?
Pardon? Have I got a
Have you
son?
got a son?
No, I mean a son out there.
Oh, the son. Sorry.
Son.
Sorry. My son. All right, my son. Sorry. Yeah,
Right,
very
I'm
good.
glad the son
Really
all
well
the time.
read.
Thank you. So one reason I kept on changing work was I hated management. And this second poem is about the last time I encountered management at an exhibition. And when I say I encountered management, I don't mean my wife who manages me, micro-manages me day by day to keep me in good order. This one's called Dreams and Wishes. Dreams and Wishes. At the last moment, Tyzone appears in all its glory with integrity compromised by the same old sad song of revenge taken in the name of insignificant patronage. Interfering with memories of words softened and manipulated to distract from the heaviness of instruction, from administrations looking to nanny me, compromising dreams and wishes destroyed in the face of a clock ticking, friendship appearing, offering the solace of realistic support, anger raising and dissipating slow like sunset. Yet a savage wind keeps howling outside when best to stay warm inside, away from warfare. Through old mud trenches that keep appearing, drawing towards waters reflecting barren land. An absence of birdsong always worrying, within a workshop where the sound of nails banging poison into the barks of tall trees, blue tits running from the envisaged woodcutters, leaving nothing but leftovers scrambled for in a warlike situation which is never won or lost by winners winning or losers losing on a battlefield that had no reason to be there. And that basically is my poem, but I forgot to read the introduction, and the introduction goes like this. Blue collar, white collar, class war, comrades bleeding on the factory floor, whilst dead office workers remain sat typing at their desk. Thank you.
Yay!
Shall we move on to Wendy?
Okay.
Is Chris
Thank you.
going to read his poems? Oh, right.
Christopher's
Sorry.
done his, hasn't he?
No, that's his mother's.
No, it's my Does Christopher want?
Sorry.
Okay. Sorry, you'll have to put up with me. The back to school theme. I actually wrote this, and it's actually, well, it'll all tell in the poem. It was actually working in the NHS, but it just put me right back to school. Disparaging bile, you're the problem, spread by those who seem servile when it's your face that doesn't belong. Bullies never stop, but this time I won't let it drop. It's time to fight. Purging my wrath at survivors, looking good and acting strong, performed a primal scream, satisfying, but vulnerability's not gone. I shone for a while, but anger rose, because I've been wrongly accused. I guess it's the trait of all Jane Eyres. You think too much of the love of human beings. And after the shock of the verbal, my whole body froze and still does. My body went into meltdown like when I was young and abused. Positivity gone to pot, stirred rot long ago. It's all still in there ready to serve my crime defending a colleague. Not brave enough to stand alone, so Muggins here did it for them. Now there's gang warfare plaguing my being, my system. The playground bullies are fruitful, they come in all shapes and guises. They're long, they're short, this one's small, but could be 10 foot in size. A mask of strength's my disguise, as hate screams into my face. Could pass as a dolly lash flutterer, yet I'm the one who's disgraced. These lowlifes stick together, pour forth their stories, I store. But I don't think my mind can take it. I'm going to open my mouth. Not keeping my pain to myself, this time I'm getting in first. Bullies never stop, but I won't let it drop. Insecurities burst. Lava heart spilling over, bottled up anger and rage. With passion and words, not violence this time. I'm not sitting on the fence. Thanks. And this one, I don't know if I've read this before here, but it's called Off-White Socks. One of them / off-white socks. I came from wet soil and mown grass, peat that was leaves and hewn rocks, to school in off-white, falling down socks, to a youth club disco in smelly trousers, to adolescence in bullied ground. They made me a monster, then they laughed. From disaster to disaster, they scorned as I danced. It was all for them, for their delight. Their fool in old blue pullover under the disco light. I danced on my own and sang to their tune, but it wasn't enough. Their clown must have tears and be under their spell for years and years. So if I was told I wasn't pulling the line, I would try even harder. Like when Winnie goes to me, thy trouble is, youngie, thou can't take a joke. I said, I can. She said, thou can't. I said, I can. She said, can that chuff? And with that, she slammed the gate and went in house. And I'm left there in my 14-year-old naivety thinking, what's a joke? Is it like when I was at grandma's and I was bored, entertained myself and took her stick? Would tap on the door, say, how do, Lucy, at her in? Imitate the white-haired neighbour with the pink slide, who could often be found in a several stout layout, ere a session in the Rose and Crown. And Grandma was fooled. Come on in, Annie, if they hadn't had a walking stick stakeout. And I'd appear, it's me, your little cat, she'd say, but always laughed. So if I was told I was pulling the line, I would try even harder, go out on a limb to make these gods, these monsters accept me, half institutionalized in off-white socks. See me as one of them. Thanks.
Hey! Woo! Hey!
Cute.
White socks.
Very powerful. Thank you.
Which completes our circle, so it's back to Andrew.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, I've got a little one here, which I think I'd like to do. I mean, all of mine are a bit educational tonight, but this one is about Tyr or Tiv, the Anglo-Saxon god of war, from which we get the word Tuesday, of course. Let me just find him. He's in here somewhere. So I'm going to go slowly with this one. So because it's very cryptic. I looked at a number of Anglo-Saxon towns which are named after interesting Anglo-Saxon constructs, where these towns still exist, and divided, I think, everything into about 16 different categories, one of which was Chew or Tiv, and made a little poem out of each. So in this poem I mention towns named after him, and then say a little bit about the towns. Send us success, help my sword cut true. Sea spear stays sharp, help us to push through. Thee we invoke, with us in shield wall. Brave Saxon God, cause our foes to fall. Chewsley, Surrey, Doomsday, Tiv's Lear. Hamlet of Tiv, Old English, Tiv's Lear. Mary's Church where Lyme Temple once stood, Virgin's Guard statue, rock garden wood. And the last line refers to the remains of what was there, which is a statue of Tiv, which is now within a convent, within a rock garden, within a wood. So functionally guarded by the nuns. Triple Village, Tysoe, Warwickshire. Tiv's spur of land. Church of Thousand Year. Horse, Chew, War, Tiv. What was Tysoe's source? We don't really know. Knights Temple are gone. Tall trees cover horse. So the horse that was carved in the rock face is now covered in trees, so you can't really see it. And the Knights Templars used to have a base there. Tiv's enclosure, Tivin, Hertfordshire. 7th century church, Tiv's temple to clear. Lady Grimston had a ghostly name. Tomb Tree of Seven, shining spectre became. Now this last bit is very interesting. Grimston, it means ghost town in Old English. And there was a lady, Grimston, which lived in this town. So she had a ghostly name, of course. And she apparently didn't follow the main religion. And it's, people thought that she was I think a bit fey and a bit strange. And she said that when she died, when 7 trees grew on her grave, she would return. And in the churchyard today, there is a tree with 7 trunks, and her ghost is often seen in the churchyard, according to the locals. Stand fast, shield wall, power to spear blade, bold, daring, brave, we are not afraid. Help sword to slice, rend their blades untrue. Send us success, us, we brave few. Thank you. And I just want to show you something. With all these references to swords, this is just wooden, but I took some time a while ago turning into a kind of replica of an Anglo-Saxon sword.
Wow.
And this is the entire Anglo-Saxon runic alphabet as you would have written on the sword, so that the sword takes on the power and magical properties of every single letter. Each one had its own magical effect. And at the end, you have the name of the sword, which is Draka, which means dragon in Anglo-Saxon.
Wow, brilliant. So when you say Grimston is ghost town, does that mean Grimsby? That's come from ghosts as well, Grims?
Oh, no, it doesn't. It's not always the case. You have to research every town back to its origin. Grimsby actually is named after a person. It's the town of Mr. Grimm. So Grim was also
Oh,
an
really?
old name.
Oh, okay,
Wow.
thanks.
And that actually is even more complicated than that, because you've got Grim with an R at the end, Grimmer, which is Woden in his earthly form when he took on an earthly guise, and there's Grim-A with an A at the end. And Grim-A is ghost, Grim-Er is Woden. And of course, the two get mixed up after about 1,000 years. You can't tell the difference. And so you have to research every town all the way back to Doomsday or to be absolutely certain what the origin of the name is.
Oh, you should be on that Thursday programme on Radio 4 with Melvin Bragg. You should. In our time. Yeah. Whatever it's called. Yeah.
Or consider, or consider giving a talk to the Highgate Society on one of the
Yeah.
pagan
I'd
holidays.
love to. I'd love to.
Yeah.
I've given talks
That would
to
be good.
the Pagan Federation on Anglo-Saxon England a few times.
I can put it forward to the Highgate Society for you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So, can we hear from Debbie again, please? Are you ready, Deb?
Yeah, okay. I've got one here. You know when you write a poem and for about a couple of weeks you kind of read it over and over, and then you write something else, and then you forget about the other one, and then you come back to it and you think, oh, it wasn't that good. But I'm at the honeymoon stage with this one. So I think Wendy's heard this one already, but I'm going to read it again. It's called Do Not Resuscitate. So we're at the bottom of the pile. What's new in that? Staring up at the pinch tight arses of the fat cats. There's nothing left in the food bank for us. Nutters' mouths don't count. And there's certainly no place in the queue for a vaccine. The fewer of you lot, the better. You're a waste of stelazine. How many years of risperidone that never worked? Do you think we're an endless bout? The cruelty of capitalism remains paramount. We shake the magic money tree for businesses, theatres and schools, but for you lot, no mercy, and we'll still insist you're fools. Oh, how we love our warped death count, not the COVID kind, but the nutters we hound. We'll still batter you with impossible forms, untrained assessors on commission, brutal DWP assassins running a lurid inquisition at torturous work capability assessments, shifting the goalposts continually, recreating new norms, huge gap in payments, sanctions, 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 and the public execution of all your dreams and ambitions. Because essentially we are the Tory boot boys, we're in play, you are a delicious, deadly fox hunt. Thank you.
It's good to hear it a second time, Debbie, because it's sunk in better. Yeah, good.
Thank you.
Right, another one, Debbie?
Oh, I think that's it for me for tonight. I think, if that's all right.
The diva must go. I didn't know.
I'm a bit hungry. I'm going to eat my words rather than read them, I think.
Well, earlier on, he said he had two short ones and a long one, and he wanted to read his long one later. So, Mr. Herbstein again.
Yeah, okay. Which one should I wear? These ones. Okay, this is called Cremation at Benares. Benares is the holy city of India. It's now called Varanasi, but I prefer to call it Benares. It's the sort of Jerusalem, the Mecca, the Rome of the Hindu religion. And the two words I just warned you about, the one is called a lungi, which you might know about, L-U-N-G-H-I. It's a sort of a skirt to wrap around the waist that men wear. And the other one is a ghat, G-H-A-T. It's a sort of a little quay on a river with steps going down. Okay. Cremation at Benares. in blue jeans, in bathing trunks, lungis, Y-fronts, jock straps even. The pilgrims wade into the holy water and do what Hindus do in prayer. Mutterings, gasps of ecstasy, hands reverently clasped. They wash their clothes in it, brush their teeth, clean silver pots. The poorest of them alongside smart men from Bombay, dog paddling in the Ganges. The sun comes up on the far bank, tail trailing in the river, a gaudy Arabian Nights balloon. A wizened soul opens the shutters of his houseboat, draws up the water in cupped palms, drinks. Here a boatman offers a burning candle, which I float in the water. Mother Ganga, forgive my transgressions. May I attain salvation. 10 rupees. We pass the ghat where the poor are cremated. A crow eyes a cow's carcass floating by. Here, a second peddler has postcards of Benares. 50 rupees. I say, thank you. I'm on my way to breakfast. You miser? Yes, I'm miser. Where you from? Nowhere. Ah, you know my brother in Norway. Breakfast, then lunch of sorts. At Harishandagat, the crematorium of the poor, a cow takes its siesta among the pyres. Men chop logs, others drag them down the steps to where the poor are waiting, while others sweep up the morning's ashes. In death too, each caste knows its place. Goats munch discarded marigolds, while the eldest son haggles the price with the funeral man. He will have to settle for bamboo. 300 kilos of sandalwood is beyond his means. Wrapped in white cotton, wreathed with garlands of marigold, the mother is brought down on a litter and placed on the flames. And now she is almost done. The protruding feet glisten, soles and heels in good trim, nails seemingly well manicured. The rest is ash. The untouchable edges, a half-spent log under the feet, and the sun watches as the final fleshly relics of his mother roast merrily. Duty done. At the next ghat along, a serious game of cricket is in play. A youth slogs the ball into the ash-ridden current, is retrieved by a pilgrim, taking his swim of swims.
Very interesting.
Lovely.
Very good.
Beautiful.
Well,
Interesting, Dennis. Interesting.
Yes.
No, it does paint the picture. I've been there and it's really like that.
yeah, well, my poetry is rather journalistic, so yeah.
Mm.
So that's what comes easier to me. Yeah.
So you've been to India, Michelle?
Sorry?
Yeah, I've been there, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I've been to Benares or Varanasi as well.
Mm.
Who's that? Oh, yeah, Andrew, yes. It's an amazing place, isn't it?
It is. I remember being woken up about 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock one morning by this singing going on in the street. And really, I didn't mind being woken up because the singing was so beautiful.
Oh.
But the funny thing about Benares is, though it's the holy city of the Hindus, the people who really earn the money there are the Muslims, because they run these, they each has a loom in his house, and they make lovely, you know, shirts and things, kurtas, you know, and they really, the craftsmen, the Hindus mainly pray and run the tourist industry.
So do they make the silk then, the Varanasi silk, do they?
I've got a couple of silk curtains. Well, I should wear one next time, perhaps.
Mm. Mhm.
I'm just wondering if you've got another one for us, Dennis?
Sorry?
Do you have another?
If you had another one for us? Or are
No,
you...
that's I'm afraid. Those are just the three I've written since last time, and they were all fairly hurried, I'm
Okay,
afraid.
okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Gwyneth?
I will have, if we're going back to school, I'll have to do better next time.
Yes, definitely.
Put the duncer's cap on.
Anybody ever had 6 or 2 of the best? When I went to school, I was once given 2 of the best. Wow.
I've been ruled and I've had books. I've been hit on the head by books.
Yeah. And then as a schoolmaster, I used to throw things with great accuracy. Cool. Usually the dust.
Yeah, we'd have you done there.
No, for that.
But we used to have a deputy headmaster whose name was Dr. Strange. There's a Marvel character called Doctor Strange, and so people might think I'm making it up. But however, Doctor Strange was an old geezer who always walked around in his academic gowns. And he would always catch people playing up and he would say to them, "We'll have less of this buffoonery, boy." So anyway, with that, passing on to a proper teacher, Gwyneth.
Gwyneth, right. Gwyneth's busy writing one, I call it Neighbours. So it changes every day at the moment. My nearest neighbour is a mature English oak. Straight, sturdy trunk stretching skywards, curving branches reaching outwards. A haven to all in need of shelter. A squirrel or two, and maybe a fox. Home to birds, my lively companions, bringing balance to an unsettled world. The oak stands tall, strong and secure, sharing the seasons of nature's cycle, alive with birds since early spring. As winter looms, I begin to wonder, will they all stay or will some migrate? Only the big birds nest in the oak, wood pigeons, magpies, and noisy parakeets. All summer long, I've missed the songbirds. Wood pigeons please me, magpies intrigue me. As for the parakeets, I've yet to decide. Does anyone know what wood pigeons talk about in their throaty calls across the fields, in the early morning calls to distant friends? I love their flight. They rise in flight with natural grace, assured pleasure of flying in unison, always at ease with one another. The magpies and I do not trust each other. They're always searching for food. Intelligent observers, they choose their moment. Hop onto my balcony when I'm not around, ferret in my pots, leave a trail of disorder. Were the keepers careless? Did the parakeets escape? Or had they just had enough of their tuneless chatter? The vibrant colors light up our trees. Maybe their calls will gradually mellow as they retune to a new way of life. So that's as far as it's got. Okay.
Gorgeous winner.
Oh,
Yeah, you should have been at Kew. There were lots of parakeets there.
Oh, was
Oh,
there?
Yeah,
no, I hate them.
I know.
That's how
They
it
just
like this
take
when you
over.
mention them.
I
Ugh,
know.
I
vile.
wonder whether their sound is something to do with the Himalayas and screeching over the trees or something. I don't know.
Maybe,
Ugh.
because they really take over and they dominate.
Yes.
Yeah, they're horrible. Horrible.
Right. Well, maybe they'll retune.
But I
Okay.
like
No,
parakeet.
they're next door.
Do you want another one or not?
Yes, go for it, Gwyneth.
Go for it. Well, it's just a short one. It's an old one. Well, it's one I couldn't help but write because I miss an open fire. So it's called Tired of an Evening. Even now, tired of an evening, I yearn for the comfort of an open fire. A fire warms, a fire relaxes. You play with your thoughts as you look into the fire, watching the flames, expanding, contracting, changing their color and shape. It resolves your problems and ideas take shape. Too weary to make a move, I warm my toes. As the last flames falter, blissful half asleep moments. I do miss an open fire. Right, that's it.
So, Christopher?
Ah, yes. I'll read you my back to school then, shall I?
If you like.
Okay. Okay, here we go. Back to school. You've grown again over the long summer holes. School trousers don't fit, and they're miles too short. Thrown under a heap at the end of last term. The outfitters shut, their staff all on furlough. Did you finish your project? The one to be given to the teacher on returning at the start of year 7? You know the one I mean, on whom you had a crush. Completed only in your head, you'll need to rush. What was it? A treatise? Why poems needn't rhyme? Look, the state of this jacket is simply a crime. But why they must have structure, scan, meter, beat time. Modern life's so complex, I blame COVID-19. Where is your striped tie with the oleaginous stain of blood, sweat or pudding from the school's dinner sitting? Your black shoes are all scuffed, there's no polish in the grain of the leather in the toe. New laces need fitting. Back to school then, to get a good education, but mix daily with people who say, I was like. Exam grades are issued with great obfuscation. No tests sat, uni places must surely now spike.
Right.
There you go.
Obfuscation, I love that word.
Obfuscation, yes, difficult to say as well. And only genius. Yes, I should write poems where I can pronounce what I'm writing. Really.
Right, any others, Christopher?
No, that's
you got one more?
No. Sorry, that's it.
So passing on to Michelle then for Tooth.
Okay then. So this one I wrote the other day. It's called Rage Rock and Roll. Get down on it. Suck a helmet. Rage on the page, people. Rave with Dave. Rage is the new rock and roll. Rage the age, people. It's the new sex and drugs and rock and roll. You ain't in a cave. Pant your rant. The new rock and cock, roll the ball, rage at the wage, it's the rock and the toll. Your wage, a slave, rant and pant, get out of breath, rant on the stage, without which life is dull. Rage on the page about your age. We all have the rage to go on stage. Just some can't rant, they're too polite to rave. Drop your etiquette and move to the beat. Share your rage, not your age. Vent your voice. Allow outbursts to be vented and stamp your feet at the rave. Ensure that you have an audience for your shout outs to vibrate and to shake to the rant and the rage of any age. You stamp your feet to the beat as you clap out the rage. You need to walk to the rave where you can beat out your rage, rant out your pain that stains your vest. You did your best and bang the drum of the beat of the throbbing heat and scream at the idiots who are destroying our public contract. That's that one.
Was that inspired by Thomas?
No, it was inspired by that demo on Saturday.
Not rage, rage at the dying of the light.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Good, yeah.
Thank
But
you.
you're not raging yourself, are you?
Sorry?
You're not raging.
Oh, I rage a bit.
That's outrageous.
I get into a rage, but I contain it because I think, right, it's not worth getting beat up about. So, locked down. Who's locked down? You're in lockdown. We're all living in towns. We are stuck down. Allowed out for exercise as if we are dogs. We obey the whistle as it sounds. Government throws a ball and we catch till we find out that Cummings did a twiddle and drove his car when he could not see, but was not prosecuted like you and me. Lock down, look down, stomp down, governments lie. The upper class, the landed gentry, who are they to me? They steal the land, they make the rules, and shit on us all. But do we make a sound? Much of society gives them a wide pass. In lockdown, we are looked down. Think Boris the Morris gives a damn about you? Mr. Morris is just filling his tank and his pants with gold. How about you? That's that one.
Thank you.
I think that's great. Good.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Glad you liked it.
What was that line, Michelle? Mr.
Which?
Someone is filling his pants with
Oh,
gold. What
Mr.
was that line?
Morris. So
Yeah.
it goes,
What's
think
the line?
Boris the Morris gives a
Yeah.
damn about you. Mr.
Yeah.
Morris is just filling his tank and his pants with gold. How about you?
Ah,
Because
brilliant.
I like calling Boris Morris, like the car Morris.
Yeah.
It's my nickname for him.
Right.
Right, I have a nickname for him in my poetry too. Right, he called Keir Starmer Captain Hindsight, and I thought that's rich.
That's good.
Considering it's coming from Major Balls. So 2 from me. This first one is called Realm Poem, and it includes something that somebody said to me one day at school, which I understand is quite a common experience. Quite a lot of people have heard this. So it's called a Realm Poem. With eyes you look high, not to the soul, but to clouds which come down to conceal all of your words you hope to hear speak of kindness. good things. Do you remember them saying, do not say nice? Nice is insufficient. There cannot be enough said when you speak of nice hair, nice teeth, nice smile. Speak of kind things more often. So those clouds roll back. You are gifted once more with sight to see good things, nice things, playful things within your realm. Thank you. Realm poem.
Nice.
And I think it's interesting that a lot of us as poets talk about our past, talk about the hurt we have experienced. Right, however, something I've noticed increasingly is that poets also have a gift of prophecy. And this is something I wrote on the 1st of October 2018, and it starts with an incident which was on the news quite a lot around that time. It's called Elegy. 2018, Natasha Ednan Laperoux dies from a sesame allergen induced by a relaxed regulation. 2019, hello Brexit, food standards, environmental standards, workers' rights relaxed and even more relaxed regulations. 2031, goodbye extinction rebellion, new ways of living, old ones gone, new rights waved away by waves, new standards, old flags battered flying. We can all relax today. Thank you. Hope you relax too. So over to Wendy.
You're muted, Wendy.
Yeah, sorry, that's lovely, Richard. I'll do another miserable poem and then I'll finish with a kind of happy one. I'm in that kind of mood. It's been a funny week. So anyway, this is called In the Psychiatrist's Chair. Mam took me to this man. Offered by junior school, this service was innovative. Mam couldn't hear most of it, fiddled with her aid, bleep, gloop, blurp, held her earpiece and nodded, attentive. Why did you bring your daughter here? I caught her father having sex with her in the kitchen armchair. Is what she should have said. But what she did say was, well, she gets nervous and bites her nails. I just sat and stared in the usual saucer way. Well, you seem fine to me. Get some link puzzles to play. Could help you stop biting your nails. Confirming the past 20 years later, after the old man died, I asked who she told. She looked to the floor. I told no one. I thought they'd take you away. To my shame, I said, I wish they had. But looking back, Mum, you had insight. I wish you were here so I could thank you. Now I've heard of the horrors of children's homes. Now I've seen oranges and sunshine. And for not being persuaded to take thalidomide. I wasn't going to take something. I didn't know what it was. Your treatment was sick. The old man said you were a stupid, deaf and dumb cunt. And Big Brother Al said you were thick. That's why you had so many kids, but you weren't so thick. Oh, Mother, I wish I could tear you from your grave, bring you to life and tell you how amazing you were, how you never got recognition for your foresight, your efforts, your beatings, how you never were allowed to grieve for your son's death, how you never were thanked by your sons and daughters. you tried to save, how you regretted all of your life not reporting the old man's abuse and violence, how you were so sensitive and caring, how you survived, your compassion and fortitude above all others. There you go, psychotherapists, psychiatrists, healers, teachers. While I fiddle with puzzles, get a crystal ball, wave a wand and tell me, how do I now deal with it? Cute. It elicited a bit of laughter, I'm not sure why.
Oh, Wendy,
anyway.
that was fantastic, that poem. Thank you.
Brilliant.
It's really, really
Brilliant.
powerful. And the way you read it was really powerful.
Thanks.
Yes, it was. Because there must be an awful lot of people that would help. Because there must be a lot of that going on.
Yeah, and the fact that the psychiatrist said, oh, you seem all right to me, but then
Yes.
my mother could say, well, she bites her nails because you just didn't speak about it, and people still don't speak about it.
No,
but
that's right.
I don't blame her.
I think that's where the power is, in being able to name it. You know, it gives it an existence. People have to acknowledge it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I am not alive for nothing, I'm sure. I could have been dead many times, but I'm sure I'm alive for a reason, and it's to speak out, and we should all speak out and not hide it anymore, because that's what causes a lot of problems in the world. You know, so, but even now I know people that say, oh, why do they talk about it now? Why don't they leave it in the past, you know?
No,
well,
you've got to talk about it.
Don't listen to people who say that at all. I mean, it's really important, but I mean, but also just the way you read it, you know, that's so real in the way you read it. So it kind of...
And that's good, because you're not messed up by doing this. You are
you're right,
messed
Quinn.
up.
I'm not really as I could have been.
No, that's right.
I've got my mother's fortitude. That's what it is, her spirit.
Yes. Oh, well, that's great. You've inherited that. That's wonderful.
It makes you a good poet too, perhaps.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I have to say, Dennis, it's I've gone through that for some reason, and I've stored lots of memories because I was silent a lot. I just observed, and my mother was deaf, so I've observed a lot, but it's all gone in, and I remember things people have completely forgotten. Yeah.
And maybe, of course, it was your father who should have been taken to the psychiatrist, but that would never have happened then.
No.
Yeah, and if my mother had killed him, she'd have been locked up, not her. So he was in the psychiatric unit quite a lot, though, to be honest, after a while. So, but Gwyneth, I was going to say, you should get one of these. I don't know if you can see this. It's a little stove, and you just switch on a switch. Sorry, it's a bit blurred. You switch on the switch. I don't know if you can see it.
I can see it. What is it for?
It's a little stove. It's electric, and you plug it in, and you get dancing flames, and it looks like a real fire.
Oh.
And you can buy a stove. So I love it. I've got it on now.
Right.
Sorry about. I think it's there.
Oh, right.
Oh yeah. So real.
Oh yes.
I got that from Homebase in Finchley Road, but they've gone there. But I love it. It was less than £100, and I just love it. It's like having a real fire, because I love a real fire as well.
Oh, well done.
And there's a heater underneath, an electric heater. You can switch it on if it's cold. So anyway, I'm digressing. So you should look into that.
Thank you for digressing.
And I'll just...
When do you read your poems?
Pardon?
Where else do you read your poems?
Oh, Survivors with Debbie and Richard and Andrew. And yay, Survivor. And I've done lots of features at different places. But Survivors is the one where you can try out really hard stuff, isn't it? So
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. It's what we feed off that survivors. Like total
yeah,
vampire.
it's a
But
safe space.
it's rare, isn't it, survivors, where you can read stuff like that? Because
Oh,
not
it's
everywhere.
brilliant. I
It's
just
really
wish it.
important.
Yeah, I wish there had always been one for lots of people who
Yeah,
could have
because lots of
shared.
people would need it. Because
Yeah.
I know people that they've been contorted somehow by how they've been treated in the past
Yeah,
as a
yeah,
child, and
yeah.
it's ruining their whole life, which is
Mm,
so it's so
Mm.
wonderful that you can pour it out.
Yes, I mean,
Yeah.
you now have people who were molested by teachers 50 years ago. And
Yeah.
whatever they get from it, I mean, very often the teacher's dead. And if
Right.
you want to send an 80-year-old man to prison, I mean, that doesn't mean very much. But, you know, at least they get some recompense for it, emotional recompense, I suppose.
Yeah.
It gives their life a structure by knowing that they weren't to blame
Yeah.
and they were
Yeah.
preyed
Yeah.
on. They were unable to defend themselves.
Mm. I mean, survivors was brought out the mental health system, wasn't it, Debbie?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but everybody, you know, I mean, God, everybody's been through, I think, mental health problems. So it's survivors of everything. So
Yeah, it's
well, thanks.
technically it's survivors of the mental health system, addictions, abuse, eating disorders, and neurodiversity. And in MHRN, the Mental Health Resistance Network, that survivor term that is extended to include people with psychosocial disabilities as well. But we haven't really come across that so much. So, you know, if I'm like applying for funding or something, that's the definition of you know, survivor, you know.
But I'm interested to know, when you wrote that poem, did you feel you wrote the poem because you felt that it was time to write the poem, to tell the story, or you wrote the poem and then felt better for it? I suppose it was both those things.
Well, I suppose I was going through a catharsis, and I just remembered that I thought, yeah, I thought, oh, I've never been to a psychiatrist, and then I thought, I have as a kid, you know, and I start, you know, when people talk about child psychiatrists and this and that, and I remembered that, and so I just thought it was worth, you know, writing down. It's kind of it's therapy for me, yeah, and it's just startling that what people will say. It's like somebody I knew said, oh, they're all saying your family, oh, that bump I got on my head from Betty Hardcastle all them years ago. And I said, but you know what that is? They're not talking about the proper pain. It's something that's a bit kind of, they can actually say, but the real pain is all hidden away because you don't talk about it. And it's like, I've got a point back, what would you really say if people really talked? You know, all the chit chat on the buses and, oh, look at her, she hasn't taken a washing in. My friend was saying this in Huddersfield. I said, oh, bless. And I was saying, well, what if they really talked? Do you know what I mean?
But
because you're not allowed to, are you?
Yes. But what surprises me, that psychiatrist, that you know, he was a school shrink, I suppose, didn't take the matter further. I mean, your mother booked the appointment, or was it a teacher who did that?
My mother, but what the thing is, I said I suppose it reads better than it's read because I put in brackets about father abusing and imagining if she had said that, but she didn't. What she said was, oh, she bites her nails. Yeah. That's what my mother said, you see.
Yes.
She didn't actually say what she'd caught my father doing.
No, because she'd be ashamed.
Oh, of course. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so she wouldn't
Yeah.
want people to
Because
know.
the woman always gets the blame, don't they, in that situation?
Yes.
The mother would get the blame.
Justified.
Pardon?
Sometimes it's justified. Okay.
Oh, yeah, if the mother is to blame, definitely. But anyway. Sorry, Richard, you've gone into darkness. Come back.
I have got into
come back.
darkness. I like to be in darkness sometimes. I feel safe here.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, like the
Um,
cold places keep the bad people out. Yeah.
I would
The
say,
summer is ending, and Richard.
but what we have just experienced is something which I find really powerful about poetry and powerful about spoken word, in as much as we get a chance to speak out our pain, speak out our hope, our futures. Right, and interestingly, I've just had published on Disability Arts Online a poem called Feet Firmly Planted, and it's about a Red Rhymes live session that I did with you, Wendy, where kind of you come to the stage feeling all nervous, and yet you've got all this experience. And here I was starting out a little gobshite, speaking loudly, and the actual poem ends with the dedication to people who have not spoken yet. And I think there's so many more of us who still need to.
Yeah.
So that's a little thought I'd like to leave everybody with tonight. We've had our time. It's been great again. I'd like to thank everybody for coming. And I'll see you all in about a month's time.
Yeah, thank you to everyone. It's been a
Thank you,
really good
Richard.
night.
Been brilliant.
Yeah.
Been brilliant. Thank you.
Will you send us the subject for next time?
It'll
I
have to
will
be
do, Christopher, unless
leaves or Browning leaves.
November, October.
Or the
Or
bad
orange. We could do the colour orange.
leaves. Or the virus is back.
Oh, let's not predict.
No. We'll leave it to Richard. Okay.
Abdication.
I'm always open to hearing ideas. And right, if anybody wants to email me with an idea, that's cool.
Okay. Right.
Okie dokie.
And thank you again, Richard.
Yeah, thank you to Richard and thank you to everybody else. It's been a really good
Yeah,
night.
thanks.
Great.
It's been brilliant.
Good.
I needed that.
Yeah, same here. Same here.
You're not wrapped up in your duvet now, Debbie.
I know. I'm actually sitting upright. I'm thinking I might go out and get some KFC. How good is that?
Yeah.
Finger licking.
Woo!
It's banned the adverts with the finger licking now.
Yeah, finger licking good.
Finger deleted good.
Yeah.
No licking until you've washed your hands.
Yeah.
This is
Okay.
Okay, well, good night.
This is
Good
turning
night.
into a
Thanks
social
a lot.
Bye.
Been brilliant. Thanks a lot.
Hanging around a bit to chat.
Bye.
You're hanging around for a chat.
Dinner.
You want hanging around for a chat?
No,
I'm going to go
turning
to
it
the
off.
loo and get some food, actually. I'm a bit hungry, especially after Debbie's talking about Things I don't eat.
Bye.
No, no.
I'm a
Bye.
Good night, Michelle.
Night, Gwyneth. Night, Michelle. Andrew.
She's gone.
Okay, off I go. Bye.
Bye, Debbie.
Bye.
See you. Oh, just the 4 of us left.
Well, I will have to put my chicken Kiev in the oven, but
Oh, that's nice.
said the actress to the bitch. Yeah, because I haven't eaten either. I had my therapy before this, funny enough. So, but
Be good to speak
I
more.
was pardon?
Be good to speak more.
Yeah, because we